Welcome to Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine. This is where the subjects are audiobooks and the actors who narrate them. I'm Jo Reed, and we're celebrating AudioFile selections for the best audiobooks of 2025. In today's episode, we're talking about our picks for the best audiobooks in children's and family audiobooks. And I'm joined by a special guest, narrator Karen Murray. But first, let's kick off with our selections for the best audiobooks in children's and family listening. Here we go. And She Was Loved by Andrea Davis Pinkney, read by Andrea Davis Pinkney. Bad Badger by Maryrose Wood, read by Chris Devon. MILLIE FLEUR Saves the Night by Christy Mandin, read by Elizabeth Knowelden. The Poisoned King by Catherine Rundle, read by Sam West. Whale Eyes by James Robinson, read by James Robinson. And How Sweet the Sound by Kwame Alexander, read by Karen Murray. Thank you so much for joining us today, Karen.
Jo, thank you so much for having me. This is a thrill.
And congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, my goodness.
How does it feel to have How Sweet the Sound be named a Best Listen of the Year?
Ooh, it was absolutely thrilling to receive this news because I really and truly connected to the subject matter. I mean, the book felt like home to me because the majority of the artists that were referenced and the songs that were referenced were very familiar to me.
Well, tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, I would say that at its heart, the book is a musical journey. And in the first part of the book, it's told as a poem, and it's a story of Black music in America. It's the soundtrack that has shaped this country and influenced this country in so many ways. It's just chock full of references to artists and their songs who contributed to and changed the sound of every era. And then, of course, there's the second half of the book, which is the back matter, and it gives a marvelous overview of all the different genres and eras. And I hope it will incite young readers and listeners to, further explore the genres and the artists because there's just so much rich history there.
Well, why don't we hear a little bit of it? This is from what's called musical notes, the explanatory part.
With origins in Africa, Juba is a percussive dance that includes complex, multi-layered rhythms created by hand clapping, body slapping, and feet stomping. In the American South, enslaved people used Juba not only as a dance, but as a replacement for the drums that had been taken from them. In the East African language of Swahili, Juba means work. Congo Square. Congo Square was an open space in New Orleans where enslaved African people were permitted to gather. Over time, it became the center of music, dance, celebration, meetings, and eventually the home of jazz. Today, Congo Square is one corner of Louis Armstrong Park.
Okay, that was a clip from How Sweet the Sound by Kwame Alexander, read by my guest, Karen Murray. So, Karen, as you said, the book starts with a lyrical poem that has an amazing musical bed to it.
Yes.
And then it goes to what it calls musical notes, which is basically a glossary that identifies the genre and the people, which we've just heard about in the clip.
Yes.
So this book isn't a straight narrative, and I wonder how you approach the book.
Well, the instructions for the audition, let's start with that, okay, was that the performance needs a sort of musical and poetic lilt. And then there was a note from the author, and Kwame said, think of this as a sermon in church. It should have that poetic, rhythmic movement. So I really tried to lean into that when recording the book. So what I did was I read the text aloud several times to get a sense of its natural rhythm. And then I was able to sort of loosely map out how I was going to phrase everything. kind of like the way you would mark a piece of music. I mean, I didn't actually mark it, but in my mind, I was like, okay, well, this is how this should go, and this feels right to say it this way. And Kwame used a lot of song titles in the first part of the book, the poetic part. So I wanted to subtly lift up those titles, but also make sure I kept the flow of the narrative of the poem intact to keep the connection going, keep the story going, keep the music and the poem going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. I wonder what special challenges do narrating children's books present? I mean, and how do they compare to narrating other genres?
For me, the challenge is I don't want to talk down to the listener, to the child, to the reader. Because, Joe, as we both know, kids today are very sophisticated, much more sophisticated than I was at, ages 5, 6, 7, or 10, 11, 12. So I don't think it serves the listener to talk down and pander to them. So I didn't want the first part of the book to sound sing-songy in any way. And so I just approach it like I'm talking to a peer.
And you succeeded just so brilliantly. It's a wonderful book, and it really is for children and family listening, because I could see a family listening to this and having a great time with it.
I agree. I agree because, I'm a child of the 70s. I'm dating myself. And I grew up, funny enough, in Vermont. And Black music was my connection to to Black culture. And my dad had a lot of R&B albums. My mom had a lot of jazz albums. And as a family, we would, absorb this music together. So I can completely see families listening to this together.
Karen, thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Karen Murray is the narrator of How Sweet the Sound by Kwame Alexander. It's one of our best listens of the year in children's and family audiobooks. Support for Behind the Mic comes from Dreamscape, an award-winning audiobook publisher with a catalog that includes authors L.J. Shen, Freedom McFadden, and Katie Robert. Discover your next great listen at dreamscapepublishing.com. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart. Robin Witten, Michelle Cobb, Stephen Cummings, Leslie Fine, Alan Minskoff, Alex Ritchie, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dow and Coca McCracken are our editors. And the music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way. I'm your host, Joe Reed. Good listening.